Click, call, or visit a Spectrum store today.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Chris Welch. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Global air travel is expected to be disrupted for several days after a nearby fire caused a major power outage at London's Heathrow Airport, one of the world's busiest travel hubs. Officials say more than 1,300 flights have been affected. Flights resumed at the airport Friday evening.
It really is quite extraordinary how there aren't any backup generators or any systems in place to ensure that electricity is, restored very, very quickly.
President Donald Trump says the Department of Education will no longer manage the nation's more than $1 trillion student loan portfolio. Instead, it will be moved under the Small Business Administration. Special education services, along with nutrition programs, will be under the Department of Health and Human Services.
Going to impact every student across the country because of the reach of federal programs and federal funds that provide the resources students need to thrive.
And Elon Musk met with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon on Friday. Hegseth said they discussed, quote, innovation, efficiency, and smarter production. The president denies a New York Times report that the Doge head would be briefed on potential China war plans. That's your Spectrum News in 90.
Welcome to The Big Deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. We launched this program last year to focus on the biggest deal there is in America, the future of our country and its people. With a new administration in the White House and a new Congress, we're exploring the new people and politics and power that's shaping the nation. President Donald Trump has now been in office for a full 2 months, and this week he made good on a campaign promise, signing an executive order to begin dismantling the Federal Department of Education. But that agency, which was created by Congress in 1979, cannot legally be shut down without the approval of both the House and the Senate. And like many of the president's recent actions, the directive to shut down the department, which provides billions of dollars in funding to schools, may wind up in court. We'll get to all of that and more in a few minutes. But first, here's President Trump on Thursday celebrating that move.
We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs, and this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work.
Joining me now with more are 2 top political analysts. Curtis Jackson is a political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Columbus, Ohio. Cassie Semien is a political reporter for Spectrum News based in Washington, D.C. And Curtis, despite what President Trump has said, the reason that this is all likely to end up in court is because no president can actually abolish the Department of Education by executive order, right? I mean, which parts of this move are permanent and which are actually going to shut down the agency?
Oh, I think some of that remains to be seen. A lot of lawsuits have been filed as a result of some of these cuts. However, this decision-making does not need to be permanent to have an impact. We're already seeing significant reductions in 3 key areas: financial aid, the Office of Civil Rights, and Institute of Education Sciences. Now, I'll break down some of that, and a lot of this is something that people have heard of before. You remember not long ago, we were dealing with a backlog of FAFSA claims, 75% of them going unanswered at one point. Education Department under the Biden administration did a lot of work to get back to a situation where they were processing those applications. We're now at the end of almost high school and going into college for a lot of young Americans. This could potentially have a huge impact on whether or not they can afford college. You look at the Office of Civil Rights, they handle anti-Semitism claims, right? We've already seen a major loss in funding to Columbia University based on that claim that the university did not do enough to stop anti-Semitism. Well, who handles those complaints? The Office of Civil Rights. And the education sciences, look, that's data, and no one knows what's working and what's not working, or if someone could make a claim and say things are working that aren't, and we would have no data to back it up.
Okay, so now, Cassie, on a different topic, we've been reporting on this dramatic move by the administration to suddenly arrest hundreds of people and deport them to prisons in El Salvador, even though most of them are not from that country. The Trump administration claiming, of course, that most of the people were dangerous gang members, although we don't really know that for sure, because it all seems to have happened without a hearing. And now some of the detainees are challenging the action in court. Where do things stand with that?
Yeah, this story is far from over, Errol, and we will likely to hear more of those stories in the coming days and weeks. The Trump White House, though, is arguing that they were well within the scope of the Alien Enemies Act to deport these individuals without a trial. Now, Judge Boasberg, he ordered over the weekend that the planes be returned to U.S. soil. They were not. And that is the question. Why were the planes not turned around? He has given the administration until March 25th to argue that there are national security concerns in revealing more information about these deportations. But then, of course, the burden of proof will be on the Trump DOJ, and they must prove that there is actually a national security concern. You can't claim national security just to shut down the courts when they inquire why certain actions were taken. And, of course, we've seen the president over the last several days suggest that Boasberg should be impeached for his stance on this case, for disagreeing and perhaps blocking the president's agenda. That received a warm welcome from Republicans. Of course, Democrats are outraged by this, and it really raises more concerns here in Washington, D.C. about the status of our federal government, the three branches. We've seen Congress not really pushing back on the president and his actions over the last several weeks, and Democrats are crying out for their Republican colleagues to stand up to the president and make sure that the judicial branch is protected as that third check, when it comes to the checks and balances of the federal government.
Right. And Curtis, picking up on that, President Donald Trump demanded the impeachment and removal of the federal judge, as Cassie mentioned. That in turn led to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, taking an unusual step, saying publicly that impeaching judges is not the proper way to disagree with a ruling. But it doesn't sound like that's going to end the controversy.
Well, I think we probably got a hint of that when the president responded to the news of what Roberts had said by saying that Roberts hadn't mentioned the president by name. I don't know if that meant some sort of loophole or not. I think certainly right now, I think a lot of people are waiting to see how far the Trump administration is willing to go when it comes to ignoring judges and criticizing or calling for the impeachment of judges who rule against them. Whether or not we're at some sort of constitutional crisis, as New York Senator and Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has suggested, I think remains to be seen. But we're certainly at a point now where the norms that come with our democracy and the respect for a tripartite government, as Cassie has referred to, seems to be a bit of a question mark at this point.
Okay, and so Cassie, in our last minute, let's not lose sight of the big fight going on in Washington over the upcoming budget. Senator Schumer, Chuck Schumer of New York, had a chance to gum up the budget process by forcing a government shutdown, but he decided not to. Now he's getting a lot of blowback from his fellow Democrats. So do Democrats actually want a shutdown? I thought that's what Trump and Elon Musk were trying to do all along.
Yeah, and Democrats, especially those in House leadership, said we don't relish the idea of a government shutdown, but it is the only way to get Democrats to the negotiating table. Now, when you look at this budget negotiation that is about to kick off in the next several weeks in Washington, Republicans are going to try and do that through reconciliation, a process where they can circumvent Democrats and not need their votes in the Senate to get it across the finish line. And so now Democrats are really and they've given away all of their leverage and that they won't be invited to the negotiating table when it comes to this all-important budget. And that's really the concerns we're hearing from Democrats over the last several days.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cassie. Thank you, Curtis. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll talk about why Tesla is facing backlash nationwide due to Elon Musk's policies. The Big Deal is back in 2 minutes.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
I really am in the middle of nowhere. Every day is different. Chores, come on, homeschooling, and then I fit in the rug business. I just got a new batch of rugs that I'd love to show you. I have a website, and a lot of what I do is sharing my home life. Mom's leaving. Reliable, high-speed internet is the foundation of our business. Spectrum was great. They went out of their way to make sure that I was okay and I was taken care of. Shoo! And that's the awesomeness of having Spectrum.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Back with the deal. Frustration and anger against billionaire businessman Elon Musk, President Trump's powerful advisor, has turned his electric vehicle company Tesla into a political target. Tesla originally saw a jump in share prices in the weeks after the election, but all of those gains have since been lost. And that's not all. Demand for electric vehicles remains strong in the United States, but sales of new Teslas are on the decline. That's partly due to design problems, like the one that prompted a recall of nearly all Cybertrucks. But more and more buyers are turning to other electric car brands as a form of backlash over Elon Musk's involvement with the Trump administration. Some Democratic-leaning Tesla owners are selling their vehicles, while others are using bumper stickers to distance themselves from the billionaire's views. Peaceful protests against Tesla and against Musk are also popping up around the country, and there are also incidents of vandalism at Tesla showrooms, vehicle lots, charging stations, and even on privately owned vehicles, which Musk addressed earlier this week.
They basically want to kill me because I'm stopping their fraud. And they want to hurt Tesla because we're stopping this terrible waste and corruption in the government.
Spectrum News reporter Brianna Fuss and more on the backlash Tesla is facing in this report.
Crowds gathered outside this Tesla dealership in Burbank, California.
It says two things. It says honk if you hate fascists and boycott Tesla swastikars.
Protesters echo each other from coast to coast.
Nobody elected him.
They're hoping to make him feel the sting thousands of families are feeling after federal layoffs.
So we're sort of hitting him
in the wallet, getting him where it hurts, even though, he's richer than God.
According to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, Musk has lost $52 billion in net worth since the year began. Reuters reports Tesla's market value dropped below $1 trillion for the first time since November of 2024. But money is just part of the backlash. Tesla vehicles, dealerships, and charging stations have been targets of frustration at least a dozen times. 4 Cybertrucks were burned in a Tesla lot in Seattle. A charging station was torched in Massachusetts. Cars were shot at, and a Molotov cocktail was thrown at an Oregon dealership. Attorney General Pam Bondi not mincing words, saying the Justice Department will launch investigations.
If you're going to touch a Tesla, go to a dealership, do anything, you better watch out because we're coming after you.
Back in California, protesters say their message will speak volumes if they remain peaceful.
This is a joyous, festive protest and nonviolent, and I urge people, like-minded people, to do this at every Tesla dealership in the country.
Brianna Foose, Spectrum News.
Joining me now with more on all of this is Camilla Domonoske, who covers cars, energy, and the future of mobility for National Public Radio. And Camilla, in a recent article, you wrote that owning a Tesla in 2025 signals that you're endorsing Elon Musk's politics, which is why some of those people who disagree with Musk are selling their Teslas. One of them includes Democratic Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona. He explains why in this video.
When I bought this thing, I didn't think it was going to become a political issue. Every time I get in this car in the last 60 days or so, it reminds me of just how much damage Elon Musk and Donald Trump is doing to our country.
So, Camilla, did Musk make a massive business mistake by tying himself to the president in this way?
Well, I think that really depends on what you think Elon Musk's goals were in his political shift here. Certainly, if you look at Tesla sales, it has been a headwind, at risk of understatement. There are multiple factors. You mentioned the Cybertruck recall, some production problems. There's a changeover in the Model Y that's been happening. These things influence sales too. But every analyst who I have spoken to about this says, yes, clearly the political backlash, the changing significance of what owning a Tesla means, the fact that the core market for electric vehicles over the last few years is the Venn diagram is pretty much an overlap with the people who are most upset by Musk's recent actions. That's absolutely hurting sales. But again, whether Mr. Musk thinks that's a mistake is really going to depend in large part on what you think his priorities were in aligning himself with the president.
Okay, so now President Trump in turn gave Tesla a boost earlier this month, or he tried to, by promoting the brand in front of the White House. He even said he would buy a Tesla himself, despite criticizing electrical vehicles repeatedly on the campaign trail. Could Trump supporters make up for the lost sales, do you think?
This is a really interesting question, and partially yes. I have spoken to a lot of Republicans who say that they felt like before buying an electric vehicle of any kind would signal support for liberal policies, and now they don't think that's true. There's survey data showing that positive opinions of Tesla have really risen sharply among conservatives and Republicans in the last year, and interest in buying a Tesla has gone up. The problem for Tesla is that this demographic, the Republicans and conservatives who are big fans of what Elon Musk is doing, remains less likely to want an electric vehicle. That's partly because of, how much they might prioritize things like fighting climate change. It's also practical elements like cities and blue states have invested more in charging infrastructure. Republican car shoppers are more likely to be buying a truck for work, where towing capacity is really important. That's still a challenge for EVs. So these things make it so that the new fans that Tesla is winning over are, for now, just less likely to become Tesla owners than the previous fans who Musk is driving away.
Okay. And let's keep in mind, it's not just Tesla. Elon Musk actually has a lot of other companies, including SpaceX. Is his relationship with President Trump possibly hurting those companies as well?
Possibly, but there's also a strong argument that his role in the government could be supporting his other companies. If you look at cuts being made to NASA, for instance, could those benefit SpaceX? This is a question that certainly not only the business community, but people who are watching questions about government ethics and conflicts of interest are watching. And this goes back to what I said before about you really have to consider what Elon Musk's goals were before asking if he made a mistake. He's been very focused on getting to Mars, and that might be something where his role in the government has a positive influence in his mind, even as he's losing Tesla sales.
Okay. Camilla Domonoske, thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we're not done just yet. Coming up next, we will take a closer look at the influence of the president's policies on the overall economy. Stay with The Big Deal.
For the millions of school-aged children across the country, the state of their schools can have a lasting impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms, available on the Spectrum News app.
Starting a business is hard. You have to stay connected at all times.
As we've been growing the studio, Spectrum's been there every step of the way. I'm always able to make the phone call that I need. I'm able to shoot that text message or that email. Every vital piece of equipment that we have here uses Spectrum.
Fast, reliable internet. Start at $40 a month, backed by the Spectrum commitment to keep your business connected.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Back with The Big Deal. The stock market has been dropping in value for the last few weeks, which analysts attribute to uncertainty over the direction of the economy. President Donald Trump's proposed economic policies, including tariffs on foreign goods, have not only sent stocks tumbling, but it's raised fears about a possible recession and undermined confidence among some business leaders and consumers. Our nation's central bank, the Federal Reserve, left interest rates unchanged at its monthly policy meeting this week. The chairman of the central bank warned that further progress could be delayed on inflation because of tariffs. The market may not be turning around anytime soon. During his speech to Congress earlier this month, President Trump actually issued a warning to the public that his own policies could bring some short-term pain to the markets.
Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much.
So just how much damage to the economy should we expect? Joining me now with some perspective on all of this is Pat Kiernan. He's an anchor at Spectrum News New York One. He's been monitoring the economy for many, many years. Pat, great to see you here.
Thank you for bringing me back to my business news day.
Absolutely. You know, you've got a lot of background here. In fact, we throw so much information. We throw a lot of data at our viewers every day. We hit them with stuff about interest rates and unemployment rates and business confidence and so forth. In your experience, what are the indicators that people really should be paying attention to get a sense of where the economy is headed?
Well, I think we want to take a step back from Trump's obsession with the stock market numbers in the past. He has measured his success in some ways by how's the Dow doing. He's got his favorite metrics like the crowd size at a rally or what the TV ratings were. But If we take a step back and look at some of the underlying economic factors, and we've got some of them on screen here, watch what the GDP is. That's the size of the nation's economy. If the GDP is growing, that brings job creation. And that middle number there was the February job creation number. Again, watch that closely to see if more people are working, that is going to bring good things to the economy. On the other hand, the number that no president wants to see that high is the inflation rate. And if that number goes higher, and it very well could, by the way, with this tariff war, if it's costing more to bring goods into the country, if it's costing more to get some of the components, even if it's American manufacturing, that inflation rate number is going to go up. And that's very tough for any politician to sell as a good thing, which is what Donald Trump might have to try to do. That was a comment you heard about short-term gain, or short-term pain for a long-term gain.
Well, politicians have to be concerned about getting elected and what the public thinks and so forth, but realistically, how much control can any president have over something as large and dynamic as the American economy?
Probably less than they would like to tell you that they have. If we look back at the stock market over the last 25, 30 years, you can see that it was largely an uphill increase, that under presidents who were Democrat and Republican, there was an increase in the market. There's a little blip around 2008, the financial crisis.
Sure.
There's another blip when COVID happened. And then as the Ukraine war started and as interest rates really soared, there was another decline in the market. But overall, when you look at that line, it's advancing from one year to the next. And that is important to so many Americans who have their money in the market.
Well, and of course, people's retirements are in the market. A lot of people may not think that the stock market affects them, but your retirement, your pension, it's all wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
And there's been a fair amount of volatility. They look like little squiggles on the chart, but that could mean you've lost 10, 20, even 30% of your retirement money in a very short period of time. What should families be doing when they're faced with that?
Yeah, I mean, two-thirds of Americans have some exposure to the stock market, whether it's a 401k plan, whether it's kids' college money in a 529 plan, whether they're making direct investments. And you're right, unless you are going to trade this market like a day trader, the answer is mostly not to get too caught up in the day-to-day, because there will be a day when the Dow is down 500 points and you say, well, I lost $2,000 today. I think the advice that I find that is best for somebody who's anxious about it is find one of these mutual funds that's what they call target date fund. And you say, I'm due to retire in 2045, and a professional investment company takes a look at that retirement date, puts you in some bonds, puts you in some stocks, looks at the volatility of those investments, and they try to steer through all of this for you so you don't have to come home every day and see where that number is.
Right. Let somebody else worry about it and get on with your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Sound advice. Thanks so much for that advice.
Sure.
Thanks, Pat. And thank you for watching us on this episode of The Big Deal. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local Spectrum station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Our journey towards improving mental health doesn't always present a clear path. Every Thursday on Your Mental Health, we listen to voices across our communities, discussing the challenges of everyday life and presenting accessible resources to guide us along the path to our well-being, providing hope and empowering choices that light the way to a healthier you.
Your Mental Health with Dr. Nicole Clark, Thursdays on Spectrum News Plus, available on all your favorite devices.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now.